Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Cardano and its native token ADA. So if you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go to jump in. So ADA, as many of you know, is my primary hedge against Ethereum. I would tend to say that in order to justify holding a lot of altcoins, you want to see them outperform Ethereum, specifically outperform Bitcoin, but also outperform Ethereum. And again, the reason is simply because you're paying for that extra volatility. You would expect a higher ROI. Now let's just look here at some of the ADA charts. If you guys like the content, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, with ADA, if you remember, we've been covering it for a while now and talking about it when it was 2 and 3 cents or so. And back then, we talked about the idea that buying it up to a risk level of 0.4, if you follow the risks up on the channel, at the time it corresponded to 10 cents, right? So accumulation of ADA under 10 cents. Now you could argue that the accumulation range has shifted higher as we have slowly built out, redefined what our new base is. The chances that we go to 2 cents again are diminishing. Of course, they're still there. We will never, we're not going to say that it can't happen, but the probabilities diminish as we continue on throughout the market cycle, and as long as Bitcoin continues to hold that Bitcoin bull market support, and as long as it continues to do well, the probability that ADA goes back down to those levels down here obviously diminishes as well. Now, what we want to talk about first, and we're going to get into a custom chart later, but what we want to talk about first is the 20-week moving average, the 21-week EMA, and look at them for ADA as it compares to USD, as it compares to Ethereum, and as it compares to Bitcoin. And primarily we use this to identify Bitcoin bull market support, right? This is our Bitcoin bull market support indicator. In bull markets, ADA tends to correct down to this bull market support line. This is where we tend to go. If you look at Ethereum, it also tends to hold this level during a bull market. Now, with coins like ADA, they haven't been around as long. It's hard to say how useful the bull market support band would be. But if you look at it, we came down here, we more or less held it as support, and then we popped back above it. And if you look at it, the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA have more or less converged to almost 12 cents. So this would essentially be the area that we would want to hold as support in the event of a correction to maintain the integrity of the bull market for ADA. And of course, you can see it's not a perfect science for ADA as it might be for, say, Bitcoin. Nothing's a perfect science, but for Bitcoin, it's a little bit more well-defined. For coins like ADA, it's not as well-defined, but you get the idea. You get the general idea. If we can stay around this level, momentum can change quickly. Typically, you can just gauge this by just simply if Bitcoin is holding the 20-week and the 21-week EMAs, right? If it's holding the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA as support, then that means ADA is probably doing okay on the macro time frame. Now, one of the things we should look at, of course, is not only its USD valuation. Now, of course, holding ADA as a hedge against Ethereum, I think, has a lot of merit. But you also want to ensure that the ROI is bringing it home for you. You don't want to put your money into assets that just tend to bleed against Bitcoin and bleed against Ethereum month over month, year over year. You want to find assets that are really starting to make moves against those assets. Otherwise, you cannot justify holding them, in my opinion, in terms of say modern portfolio theory, maximizing your risk-adjusted returns, maximizing your Sharpe ratio. You want to find assets that outperform. Now, if you look at the ADA or Ether valuation, it tends to have pretty well-defined peaks against Ether up in this region. Okay, and we've had 3 of them. This one even went above it. We've had 3 well-defined ones. It does appear that over the long haul, ADA has decreased against Ether, more or less, but it was also during a bear market. So again, ADA, like Chainlink, which is another coin we cover on the channel, we don't really know how it will behave throughout the grand scale scheme of a market cycle, right? If the market cycle, bull market's lasting a few years, we just simply don't know how ADA will perform during that time because it has not lived through one. And if Ethereum is able to capture a lot of market share, there will be a lot of competitors. I imagine these competitors will be able to capture some of that market share. Again, they have a mountain to overcome. However, it doesn't mean that they can't do it, right? It doesn't mean that they can't capture that market share. And because of that, ADA is one of my hedges against Ethereum. Now here, if you look at this bull market support band, which again, somewhat dubious for such a new asset, you can see that it actually came straight up to that band and has come back down. And not only for Ether, ADA Ether, but also ADA Bitcoin. It came straight up to the 20-week SMA and then got hit back down. Okay, so this is ultimately what we're looking to break. If Bitcoin trends upwards, let's say Bitcoin were to trend up over the next few months or something, if it did, and if ADA were to trend up as well, that's not that important if the ADA Bitcoin valuation and ADA Ether valuation cannot break through and continue higher. So this is, I think, a key level to look out for. We want ADA Bitcoin to go higher, and we want ADA Ether to go higher. Now, sometimes I find that people in these markets can suffer from short-term memory loss and come at it from the perspective of, well, what has ADA done for me today? But if you measure the ROI of ADA and a few other coins, and you measure them, say, as measured from the bottom, the local bottom of 2020, March 13th of 2020, and you say, okay, well, what has the ROI been? If you had just bought some coins on the dip, the major dip, March 13th, what has the ROI been? This was basically where we just wiped out every single crypto in the short term, and then we started afresh. You see which one ADA is. It's the light blue one. Great recovery, right? And it was leading this entire pack at some point. It was leading the entire pack over here. It was also leading it somewhat recently too. And if you look, the three main coins that come in at the top are ADA, Link, ADA Link, and VeChain. Those are the three that come in at the top. The next one coming in fourth place out of these is XLM, followed by trusty Ethereum. So those are the top five. And I would argue that, holding these other altcoins like ADA and Link, ideally they need to be outperforming Ethereum and Bitcoin. Otherwise, if they can't, then why would we hold them? And of course, I know that might not appeal to some people, that type of mentality, right? It might be you're in it for the tech, but again, I don't buy it. I don't think really there's that many people that are in it for the tech. Even the people that are quote unquote in it for the tech, I'm sure, are still checking the prices every other hour. And here it is. If you just kind of get rid of a lot of the noise and look at some of the better performing projects, we did a video on this a few weeks ago, so this is just an update. And you can see, ADA and Link or ADA, Link, and VeChain are all essentially at the top over here. So while some people might take the approach, well, what has it done for me recently? You have to recognize that it's up over 6x. Since the bottom of March. So, I mean, as measured 9 months ago, it's up 6x. Okay, so $1,000 would have been 6,000. 10,000 would have been 60,000. 100,000 would have been 600,000. You get the idea. Like, it's done very well. And just because it hasn't made any moves recently should not discredit the move that it made earlier in the year, right? It had a pretty significant move earlier in the year, and now it's even gone up and beaten some of those local tops later this year when it rallied up to 17 cents or so. So it's still doing fairly well. It just, essentially, I would argue that where we are is just potentially a reaccumulation phase. Maybe this is nothing more than a reaccumulation phase for ADA. We had one down here. You could even argue it spanned all the way up if you wanted to. This is where I was accumulating. We blasted through, kind of a short-term blow-off top, back down, recovering back up. I think this is just probably another accumulation phase, assuming Bitcoin maintains the integrity of the bull market, which means it does not drop below this bull market support band, right? So that's where you want to look. Currently the 20-week SMA is around 13.3. The 21-week EMA is around 14K. So, I mean, if we were to drop there something like this, these would obviously rise up more. Maybe about 14K, 15K if we were to start dropping in the short term. But what I want people to identify is that, you know, in order for ADA to really start doing well against Bitcoin, for it to really start doing well against Bitcoin, we know what needs to happen, right? We know what needs to happen. Bitcoin needs to be bullish and it needs to go sideways. You know, if you look at when ADA was really pumping, it started from March, the bottom, right, which would have been a great time to purchase a lot of different cryptocurrencies, frankly. But you get up here, you look at, say, June, early July, and what was Bitcoin doing during, say, June and early July? Well, it was going sideways, right? Bitcoin was going sideways during that time. So what we want is for Bitcoin to go sideways at a bullish level above the 20-week moving average. Here, it went above the 20-week and then went sideways. And a few weeks of going sideways, this continued move here. So we had a nice move from the bottom, and then it started going sideways itself. But then starting, say, this green candle was the first one, June 15th, going all the way up to, say, July 20th. So about spanning approximately 1 month, starting from about June 15th or so, starts at here. ADA was trending up here, here, all the way through. All the way takes it to July 20th. What happened July 20th? Well, Bitcoin started going up. What happened July 20th for ADA? Started going sideways again. Why? Because when Bitcoin goes up aggressively, the rest of the market will sit and watch. That's what happened. Bitcoin was going sideways at a bullish level above the 20-week. After a few weeks of doing this, ADA pumped. Bitcoin started moving again. ADA stopped. Bitcoin then continued its run into, this was the run here. So July 20th going up through August. What was ADA doing? It was just going sideways that entire time. And then when Bitcoin dumped, ADA also dumped in tune, right? I mean, it dumped in kind just as well. It came down to its bull market support band, and now has continued up. And now, what's happening? Well, as you see, again, it's starting to go sideways, just like it has here, just like it did here, okay? So what's key about this is that this sideways movement could last for a few weeks, right? I mean, it might oscillate between, like, you know, 13 cents to 17 cents. But again, we're not here for that. Like, we're not even going to get out of bed for a 17 cents ADA. Like, wake me up when it's 25 cents. So if Bitcoin now trends sideways, which is what we would want for the health of the altcoin market, if it were to trend sideways here for a few weeks, we may see ADA break up, just like it did last time, right? I mean, it was trending sideways here when Bitcoin was going sideways here, but before Bitcoin broke up around this area, ADA started rallying again, right? ADA started rallying before Bitcoin continued its rally. So this is what we would want to keep an eye out for. Now, I don't have to tell you guys that if Bitcoin were to come back down, like it did here in August, if it were to come back down to the 20-week or something like this, then we would speculate that ADA would also come back down in the short term, right? We would expect ADA would dump as well against USD, probably dump against Bitcoin, probably dump against Ethereum. That's just the way it works. When the markets are down, altcoins tend to not perform well against Bitcoin, and they tend to not perform so well against Ethereum. That's just how the market works. So by holding ADA, we know that we are taking on more risk, because the risk that we're taking on is if Bitcoin dumps down to the 20-week, or if it dumps below the 20-week, then it's going to be, you know, the bad news bears for ADA, right? It'll be the bad news bears. There's no getting around it, right? That's just the risk you take. And I anticipate that a lot of people who are watching this right now have ADA. And if you do, your time frame is probably a multi-year time frame, so you might not be as concerned about, say, a short-term move.
But even if you are of that mindset, you know, it's good to keep up with where the markets are. Can you expect, like, you know, can you expect things in the short term? Well, we know again that if Bitcoin starts going sideways here at this level, then there's a good chance ADA would break out. And we've talked about this in a few other videos, because if you were to draw a line at 10K, which is where Bitcoin approached it, here, right, we had 7 candles in a row, 7 greens, a red, and then a green. 7 candles in a row, then a red, and then a green, right? We've very similar pattern. This was the sideways movement, and ADA started pumping right in around this region. So if Bitcoin were to go sideways at 20K, or around this level, right? I mean, maybe a little bit higher. If it were to go sideways at this level, something like this, then I think, again, this is not financial advice, but I think that there's a good chance ADA could extend the rally. Now, of course, a lot of people will, you know, these types of analysis will ultimately bring comments like, well, you're saying it can go up, down, or sideways. Yeah, that is what we're saying, and I've contended before, right, that if you know someone who knows exactly what will happen, let me know, because I would like to watch that channel. We are pragmatic here. I do not know what will happen in the short term. I'm bullish ADA. I'm very bullish on ADA over the grand scale of a market cycle over the next few years. I think ADA will do quite well, especially if Bitcoin maintains its own bullishness. I think ADA will do quite well, and we just have to recognize that there are phases of the cycle that favor Bitcoin, and there are phases of the cycle that favor altcoins. And when Bitcoin is moving up quickly or moving down quickly, it does not favor altcoins. It favors Bitcoin in terms of altcoin Bitcoin valuations. When Bitcoin tests the 20-week moving average, it favors Bitcoin. So many different scenarios favor Bitcoin when you're in, say, a bull market. Because like if you're in a bull market, if Bitcoin's going up quickly or it's going down quickly but still above the 20-week moving average, the markets favor Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is testing the 20-week, the markets favor Bitcoin. The primary times that the markets favor altcoins during a bull market is after Bitcoin volatility calms down and goes sideways. We don't want an immediate dump. If we get an immediate dump, then you can basically say bye to the altcoin market gains, right? That's essentially what happened in 2019, right? When we came up very quickly, we never really moved sideways for any extended period of time. And because of that, most coins bled against Bitcoin, because there wasn't really a move up and then a move sideways for a while. It just moved up, right? It just moved up and then it dumped. And so most coins during 2019, say from January of 2019 through July of 2019, most coins did not do that well. Let's look at it. Let's look at January of 2019 through July of 2019. So January, ADA was not doing that well against Bitcoin. March, it did pump, but then as measured all the way down to July, you know, so for the first, you know, several months of the year, ADA essentially dumped, you know, 50% against Bitcoin. And the reason, right, the main reason, I think, during this phase is just because Bitcoin was not going sideways. When Bitcoin is going sideways in a bullish level, you see what happens, right? I mean, ADA pumped 80% against it. So this is what we ultimately want to look out for. The markets can change on a dime, right? It goes from the altcoin market, you know, altcoins are dead phase, to then it'll switch back to the why does anyone buy Bitcoin phase when altcoins give you higher returns. People will chase altcoins for a while, then the market dumps. Then when the market dumps, people who were coming in very late on the altcoins get completely wrecked, and people, you know, either go to the safety of Bitcoin, or they go to the safety of altcoins, or sorry, stable coins. They seek the safety of those coins during dumps, and then altcoins just perform so badly during that time. So there's a time to be in altcoins, and then there's times not to be in altcoins. Or at least say, maybe you could argue that you always want, say, some exposure to any specific project if you just have a special interest in seeing where it goes over a few years. But in terms of, say, like aggressive accumulation of altcoins, you know, there's times to be accumulating it, right? There's times to be accumulating it, and then there's times not to be accumulating it, right? Once the pump has already happened or it's in the process, as we've said on this channel, you never chase pumps, but you must always be ready for them. In the same manner here, like there's no there's no pump chasing going on yet, but if it were to start going back up, then you could argue, okay, well, you had your time, that time is gone, and then now kind of sit back and enjoy the ride. Because once you start to come in at a much higher valuation in the short term, then it becomes much more of a gamble than an investment. So we'll keep an eye on ADA. I know I've been rambling for a lot this video. It's been a while since we talked about ADA, but I just want to give my thoughts on the market. You guys, I think you guys can understand, you know, if Bitcoin were to go sideways here for a few more weeks and it can hold these levels for a few weeks, then we would anticipate ADA to probably rally, right? We would anticipate it to probably rally in that scenario. If it doesn't, right, if it comes back down, then we're just going to be putting the brakes on for a while, and that's okay, right? That's okay. We pay for the higher return. I mean, as I said, ADA has a higher return as measured since March. The return on ADA is over 6x. Okay, Bitcoin is not that high. Is not nearly that high. You can see the difference. This is a log scale, but you can see the difference, right? ADA is a 6x move since March. So the price to pay for theoretical higher returns is if you do own it and Bitcoin comes back down, then the volatility on ADA will be even higher to the downside, and that's the risk that you pay for holding it. If the markets play out perfectly for altcoins and Bitcoin goes sideways, and in that scenario, if ADA pumps and someone says you were lucky, you say, no, it was not luck, it was a calculated investment. I took the risk in the same manner that it could have gone up, it could have gone down, and if it goes up, then you're just reaping the rewards of the risk that you took. So, rambled long enough. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you like it. We have the premium list, Black Friday sale. We'll have it going on for maybe a few more days, not too much longer. I'll give people a date soon. Check it out. You can find a link to that in the description below. You get access to the weekly reports, weekly videos, the risk dashboard, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, and some of the TradingView indicators. So check it out. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, check out the Telegram channel in the description below. Could always use more Cardano fans in there. We have now 10,000 people, so pretty big milestone we just hit. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.